Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. And like our players, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, pulling out the unexpected, only the beginning. With Mazda, move and be moved. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you for this Locked On Texas Tech special edition. It's the Matador Mob Mailbag, diving into your questions with our answers, or at least best guesses. We'll get to many different subjects today, but a lot of those looking ahead to Tech and Kansas coming up Saturday night from Jones Stadium. We'll discuss the matchup as it relates to the quarterback, which we've already spent a little bit of time talking about, that Tech will be tasked with defending, and Jalen Daniels coming up on Saturday and how he compares to what we've seen so far. We'll also get back to some thoughts regarding decibels at Jones AT&T Stadium, as there has been a call for, well, basically more of them coming up this weekend. Chris, you and I will kick off our conversation, however, with by far the most popular question. And this one a little bit tricky because depending upon the time you could be listening to this conversation, you may have already gotten another availability report. We are an initial or 2 or 3 or maybe 3.5 availability reports in by the time you're listening to this. So bear with us, but a pair of interesting names certainly there whenever we get the initial report, Chris. And that is in your linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez, and your left tackle, Howard Sampson. We had Matthew, Aaron, Eric, Sam, Tyler, Peyton, Glenn, Lance, Derek, Patrick, Dan, Joshua, and maybe a few others. I'm sorry if I missed you. Asking about a feel still a little ways away from kickoff regarding Sampson and Rodriguez. Anything so far?
I will just say this, and obviously, as you mentioned, it could change by the time that somebody consumes this show. I will be very, very surprised if either one of these guys does not play and doesn't start and doesn't play well. I would say that to you. Are they dealing with things? Sure, but I don't think it's anything to be too worried about. And again, that's as I'm talking to you at this minute right now. So
yeah,
I think that anything that would change between now and when I'm saying this and we're talking about it, it would have had to have been a setback of pretty significant variety or something like that. But I don't envision that being the case at all. So that's what I would say. You are going to go at this game without your starting punt returner again, Tristan Gentry. I still am curious about Roy Alexander because this is a player that may not matter at all throughout the rest of the season, or he could come into play and factor in heavily depending on what other things go on or what you may need or the health of other positions and things like that. So I wish that he was healthy and up and good to go. But other than that, and I did find it interesting that there's been a couple of names that I think that you need to pay attention to that have shown up on this deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a hello, but you are preparing for the eventual return to being available of Holton Hendricks. Okay. I don't know if you need Holton to do anything just yet, but the other name I wanted to mention to you is Chapman Lewis, because I think people have forgotten. Oh yeah, he's on the team. He was a starting safety last year. He was actually pretty good. He wasn't the reason that we were getting beat over the top and all the things. He's a really good tackler and all the things. And so they are setting up the return for him here in a couple of weeks or so. And
yeah, we've been pointing to October, right? I think ideally at least.
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind what you can do with this, depending on if he's good to go. And I think you're seeing that he's getting closer to being good to go. That if he's cleared, I think you can kind of and I don't know how they will play this. there's one thought that, okay, let's pick and choose which 4 games he plays in. Meaning, if he's good to go, maybe you need him versus Kansas or Arizona State, but maybe you don't need him versus Oklahoma State at home or UCF at home. Maybe you're going to need him versus BYU. You may be able to kind of pick and choose the 4 that he participates in and not just be the last 4 games of the year, because it doesn't really matter. So anyway.
He's still got a year to preserve. I'm trying to refresh my memory, and there was no like medical component to that. That was already too far into.
He's got a red shirt. He's played as a true freshman, so he's got a whole. Yeah,
not many times you're excited to see somebody's name show up on the out list, but I noticed the same thing. I was like, hey, that's actually an upgrade for Chapman Lewis just to be in that category. So
that's just a hello. Yeah, that's just a hello. Don't forget, but they're laying the groundwork there for his eventual return.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Tristan Gentry. Just before we move on from him really quickly, Brian was asking about Tristan Gentry and whether or not it was up in the air that we could see him this week, or was it already sort of determined that he was going to be unexpected to be available? Do you have a feel from when he first appeared on the list last week to kind of maybe how this one went?
Well, I mean, he's because he's listed as out and was last week, and I think again is this week. And if this were to continue, because I think his issue is not something that is got a timetable on it. Because it could be like imminent, or it could be like maybe a while. But it's not some major like structural body part or whatever. And so I think that, but if it drags on, I mean, I guess he could, I can't remember how many games he's actually played in, but I mean, I guess you could start going, okay, maybe we can save him for the rest of the year because I think he participated in 4, didn't participate in the 5th, is not going to participate in the 6th. But I also know that if they feel like he's the best option at punt returner or at whatever else, at receiver or whatever else you would need him, then that's what's happening. You're trying to go to parts unknown here in places you've never been before, and if there's some collateral damage on having to play a guy for a minimal role or whatever, I just think that's where you're at right now. I would also say to you that. You know who's an interesting guy in this kind of category that may shock people? What if Hunter Zambrano gets Vinny scurried here? What if Hunter Zambrano, who hasn't participated in but 3 games, I think if you go look at the participation chart, I think he's participated in 3. He could still participate in 1 more and then could return. Interest you at all?
Mm-hmm.
It does me.
Yeah.
It does me. So, but we'll see, because at the drop of a hat, it's like, hey, dude, go in there, got it, and all you need is, hey, man, go in there in 2 different Saturdays, and that part is now null and void. But I think if you can potentially get away with that, then I think that could maybe be on the table. I'm just throwing it out there based on the math.
Wouldn't mind it. We're going to go ahead and keep them suited up, I think, week to week, because like you said, you never know what can change, but wouldn't mind it if you could kind of navigate that, and because he's been like a bonus.
He's just been kind of dealing with some things here. It's very just reminiscent of Vinny Scurry. Just kind of never, now Vinny got pretty hurt initially, and then it was okay. Well, he can come back. Hunter's just been dealing with stuff really since the summer, and kind of came in here a bit dinged up, and but luckily you've got Jacob Ponton sitting there. So again, that could change. I'm just throwing out possibilities as you start to look at that, because I'm guessing that most people wouldn't have thought about that as an option, but it still could be right now.
Just hypothetically, Aaron was asking about if Sampson was not manning the left tackle spot. Do you have any feel for what kind of shuffling happens, or what names are involved next, or First, today's episode brought to you by DoorDash, and it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it matters most. And this week for Texas Tech, it was the preseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Jacob Rodriguez, looking like that and a whole lot more against Houston with 5 tackles, 2 for a loss, an interception, and a smooth operator kind of hurdle over a Cougar defender on top. And just like Jacob Rodriguez delivered for Tech, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. And with DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, so you can stack it up all season and wind up saving up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Keep the winning alive by fueling your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promotional period through November 18th. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered, and it's quick, easy, and secure every time. Ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Yeah, I think that involves Jacob Ponton and Will Jados. I think Ponton moves over to left, Jados moves to right, Zambrano goes to right guard, or excuse me, left guard. I think that's how that would look.
Gotcha.
And again, depending on when that happens or what game you're needing, or is it in the middle of the week and you're preparing for such, all that could look a bit different. If you're in a blowout, or you're going to face an opponent that you think you could handle, that could be different answers there based on kind of what I was just talking about previously. But in the middle of a contested game, in the heat of the battle, that's what would happen. I think it's Ponton to left, Jados to right, Zambrano, or maybe like a Daniel Sill, or if Holton Hendricks gets back and good, maybe I wouldn't even. I'm gonna blow your mind now. I wouldn't even rule out saying, okay, Cash Cleveland, you come play center. Hey, Sheridan Wilson, you move to guard. I think all of that are possibles, and again, that's all dependent on the situation. But it's just fun to have some buttons to push here.
Yes. Hope the buttons are not pushed, so we'll go ahead and cut that off there. I don't want to speak anything into existence this weekend and get on to the next question. Thank you guys for those questions. Lonnie is asking about thoughts on any of the public reaction you've seen, if you've taken it in, to Tech's revealing of their future logo plans.
You have seen a lot. I have seen a lot. There's no such thing as a 100% approval rating on stuff like this. That's just not what is interesting. Is I had a conversation with a close friend yesterday morning, and he's like, if Tech would have just started using some of these logos and not made a big deal, maybe the reaction wouldn't have been, you just kind of like eased into it. Because my point was, I'm like, if you've paid attention, men's basketball has slightly used a lot of the throwbacks the last couple of years. The coaches' pullovers, some of the pullovers that they're using, the uniforms, and all the things, they've really, and the facility, they've really kind of leaned into the throwback aspect of things, and nobody's really said anything. And then you come out with all this stuff, and it's like everybody's critical. It looks like a third grader. Here's my point, Callan. I get that different Tech fans are passionate about the double T and different variations of it. What I don't want to hear, and I don't care for hearing, is some anonymous poll or some fan base's opinion or some writer that's in some national this or that. Like, it's not for you, man. Like, I don't really care what you think. I really don't. So like, save it.
I agree totally.
Put it in your back pocket, dog. Because I'm not I don't anything outside the family. I'm just not. I'm like I don't really care.
Don't care.
That is triggered me a bit because it's not for you. I know that some people are going to miss the beveled double T, and we have enjoyed the because what is interesting is, and this is like a societal thing, what was cool in the 80s and 90s is cool again, and that's kind of what this is. So to each his own. I respect your opinion, whatever it may be. I liked this generally. Okay, I did.
Yeah.
And I know you did. And it's not, if it's not for you, I certainly respect your opinion. Again, if you're one of us, if you're not one of us,
family.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not one of us, kick rocks. I got no time for it. I really don't care what you say or may not say. So.
I'm definitely pro this double T. It's terrific to have a return to something that's going to be timeless. And I say that specifically, Chris, because I actually think the beauty in this is that you're not really chasing 80s or 90s or any era. You're just chasing the logo that you rocked for almost half a century before. Yeah. I mean, you're going back to early 60s, possibly late 50s for that specific iteration, and even earlier for a different type of iteration, non-beveled, shockingly enough. So I've got no qualms with going back to what your logo was for the vast majority of your existence. And I do think it'll be something that holds up better over time. I think it's hilarious, all the consulting and spatial awareness conversations that had to happen, I guess, to sort of tinker with something, which just has to happen in this day and age. But you got 5 stars just about all the way around for me as far as this. And I also support everyone's right as an American to have no taste and be totally wrong on this issue, as long as it's in the family. But yeah, Chris, I think also in some ways you set the table for all the reaction. If you are going to go the route of really trying to market it and make it a thing, I totally agree with you. And it's just my own personal style or preference to just start doing something as opposed to being like 3, 2, 1, here we go.
Right. I mean,
and then it's like, everybody go, tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Now, this is this is obviously a big business. So everything is marketed, and you should be doing that kind of thing all the time. And I'm sure they were ready for all reactions, but yeah, you're not going to get, I don't think, anything on this program as far as regret that we are rolling back.
And all the different,
like this.
All the different content that was, like some of it was just awesome. I mean, and like there was a lot more to it, and it's not just one mark. I think is the way that it's like there's like 3,000 of them, and or different variations and all the things. So I get, and we talked about this the other day. The point to do it or kind of make an announcement was because you can say whatever you want, okay. And some people say, I really do think there can be bad publicity because the old saying, any publicity is good. But like Texas Tech has done a really phenomenal job, intentional or unintentional, of really being in the news and being very buzzy for the last 6 to 8 months. They've just kind of been at the forefront and like people are talking, and it's bothered some. Some people are probably going, I want to go to school there. I want to see what's happening. I mean, so there's different directions of momentum there, right? But it's been, but again, it's homecoming week. There was some intentionality there. There's the retailer aspect, the planning, all that, and eventually it's like, hey man, I'm starting to see all this stuff on sale with all this throwback stuff. Are y'all switching? Yeah, we are. Then you got to say something. But I just know, like you said, man, you can't please. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what we're doing or
the news cycle's already moved on anyway. So
I know you're
rolling on, and
you're right.
And here's what I'd say too. I know we got these stickers laying around. You sure we can't get these on the helmets by next week? Are you sure?
Well, they have the throwbacks.
We got the stickers.
That's right.
Chris, I do one more question before we moved on, but from this particular subject at least. Let's see. I wanted to get this one in this is from Charles, who was saying his fandom is sort of too new to know about this. But do you have any memories from that switch in 2000 to the faux 3D thing? And It wasn't a social media era, but do you remember reaction or opinions whenever that decision was made?
Yeah, there were a lot of okay, so it made it into the news cycle how much they had paid a marketing firm or a third party to come up with this. Like, we paid for this. Like, we can't even buy stamps in the football office to mail recruits letters. I mean, you remember all these different things.
Right. The stamps.
But like, we paid for this, and then other people are like, you're more sophisticated. You've modernized. Like, welcome to the
That's right.
welcome to the new century, or you know, exactly. And this was like, okay, we're in the Big 12 now. We got to act like a big boy. And so, I mean, again, it was all over the place. And then other people, I don't know if I saw a ton of you know, just like negativity that you'd switched it, but some people I think were missing what you had switched. But gear, merchandise, you know, the variations of a uniform, this is all so different now than it's ever been before. More so now than ever before, and that's been a decade-ish or maybe even further back kind of thing. And Tech has now leaned into this, and like a lot of schools have. And I think that because I've seen some like they're just doing this to sell more merch or whatever. And I don't really think that was the inherently you're going to do that.
Of course.
Inherently, yeah, because people are going to be like, but it's no different than like when you're switching from Adidas to Under Armour. Like, it's part of business, and like you wanted to, because no one person decided that this was what they wanted to do, and then here it shall be done. This is a focus groups. This was regents. There was a lot of I think there was a lot of people internally that were consulted, like thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think? But this was just kind of what studies showed, or what they were led to believe, and what a lot of people's personal preferences were. And like, for example, if you have a few different regents, two in particular, that say, I've donated a lot. This is what I would really like. I would prefer. I mean, what do you? How are you operating from that standpoint on? Like, are you going
very carefully?
Well, yeah. I mean, but that's not really what happened. That's not what happened. And so,
you did say no single individual, but I do remember in like 2009, 10 saying myself as a single individual, this needs to happen. And then just about 16, 17 years later, boom. So I'm not so sure it wasn't just the strings I was pulling on all along, Chris. You're welcome, Red Raiders. Okay, good God. Another apology, second of the week for so much fashion talk. Our bad. We've already done it once, and I'm sorry again, but we had to do it twice. We'll leave it there for now. Let's get back to business on Saturday, Chris, because we have questions about Jalen Daniels coming to town and this Kansas offense. Had Brent, Nathan, and Emily asking about, in a sense, if you had to force Daniels to do something as the Tech defense, you like him better having to kind of lean towards being a ball carrier, or maybe having to put it in the air repeatedly? Something kind of stand out to you in those terms of what you would like to make him do if you were Shill Wood? First, today's episode brought to you by Mazda's, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved us came with the end of the first quarter near in Houston, when Baron Morton found Cameron Dickey out of the backfield, and Dickey does the rest, making a man miss and rolling 69 yards to the end zone for his team-leading 7th touchdown. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Move and be moved with Mazda. If you had to force Daniels to do something as the Tech defense, you like him better having to kind of lean towards being a ball carrier, or maybe having to put it in the air repeatedly? Something kind of stand out to you in those terms of what you would like to make him do if you were Shill Wood?
It's a great question. This is a great question. This is okay. So what he is really good at is throwing it deep. This is where he excels. Don't give him the time to do that. You better have some help over the top with Emmanuel Henderson, number one. But what you want to really do here is kind of what Houston was doing to Baron Morton last week, because this is where Jalen Daniels has struggled before. The analytics show that he's really average with the medium throws. If he's got to check it down and go underneath repeatedly, or kind of throw it over the middle underneath, and the tighter windows where there's traffic, that's where his mistakes have typically come from over the years, not just this year. When he's allowed to like extend a play and then chunk it, the stats and analytics are going to show that's when you get in trouble. So if you can repeatedly kind of make him, I don't know how Shield will deploy his chess pieces here. I think you're going to do what you do, and you're not going to go, let's change everything for Kansas. That's not, I mean, you've got some arrogance in you too now here, because I think you're good enough to go, you're going to adjust to what we're doing, because we're not, but in a normal year, I could have seen where you would have been very intentional about saying, we're going to lighten the box. We're going to try to take away a lot of these deep throws. We invite you and to run it, to try to drive it, all the things, and we don't, like, we're going to take away what scares us the most, which is you throwing it deep to your fastest guy, which is Emmanuel Henderson.
So that it sounds like that's sort of a combination or like a middle ground, because he can really hurt you as a passer, but if you can put him in a specific kind of passing situation, we like that a little bit better.
Yep.
Sort of in that underneath or middle ground.
Yep.
Hopefully they're able to do it. Much easier said than done, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that's, again, you just want to this is why he's not necessarily seen as a big-time NFL prospect. He's just a really good athlete playing quarterback at the college level, because he's not dropping it back going boom, 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 phew, that's not necessarily his game. His game is going to be more unscripted. I can keep a play going, and I can Pat Mahomes it and watch Jakeem Grant just standing down there all by himself, because I kept the play going for 6 to 8 seconds, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's somebody just standing down there with nobody around him. That's where he's good, but Pat could also make the. I don't know why I'm in drawing these comparisons. I just remember like the scramble around for forever, and then because he is that good. Daniels is that good at what Mahomes could do from that standpoint. It's just, but all the other stuff, Pat could make every throw out there, and that's not really what he's shown to be able to do. Nor does he have the weapons across the board. But this is an offensive coordinator that is really good. They will scheme you up. They will move their pieces and shift them and all the motions, and they'll get somebody open that's just kind of an average player, but the scheme will kind of open it up if you get caught sleeping. They're missing their starting tight end, but the other tight ends were open last weekend, and they're just kind of guys. But again, the scheme, the gaps and all the things, if you're not paying attention, somebody will just be standing out there. They just don't have enough of ability to run away from people and break a bunch of tackles and all those things. And the LaShawn Williams kid is, I think, legit too. I think he's a plus Big 12 back. He's a transfer from Iowa. Some within the Kansas program feel like he's better than Highshaw. Highshaw is kind of high maintenance, and he's listed as doubtful for this weekend. So LaShawn Williams is who you should expect. But is he good enough to like ball control and like lean on you and like get 4 yards a pop? I don't know about that. I just haven't seen that yet going against these Red Raiders yet, where they've flinched, and so I don't think that you'll see it this weekend either.
So with that said, Ed is asking, would you say Jalen Daniels is the most dangerous quarterback Tech's faced so far this year?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's pretty overwhelmingly the answer. Wegman and Dampier, for different reasons, whether it was scheme or what they have around them or whatever, presented different problems. This player alone, regardless of scheme, has the potential to cause the biggest problems. And so that's why I say you're gonna have to it's really about collapsing this pocket. Like you want to keep him contained. You don't want to just get upfield, or I just think that spells trouble. Now Kansas may be saying, because there's some knock there that, man, he hadn't run as much. Maybe they don't want to run him as much. It's kind of like the Avery Johnson conversation in Manhattan. Yeah. They may not want to be putting him in harm's way just too much, but I don't know. Maybe you'll say, hey man, we dare you. Good luck. Let's see how much you're willing to put your quarterback in harm's way and risk his health, because when we do get him, we will get him down, aggressively.
Sure.
but yeah, this is the one. This is the quarterback that, to this point, can cause the most problems.
All right, thank you for that question. Peyton is asking this question: do you think the Jones is loud? Please be honest. And when was the last time you saw a bleacher being ripped up?
The bleacher thing, that's been many years ago. Yes, the Jones is loud. I think the Jones, like when Oregon was here a few years ago, there's been, and obviously back in the heyday with some of those games in 2008 and different times when Texas and Oklahoma or A&M have been here, it's got the reputation. What I think I hope some haven't misinterpreted, because I think what Joey's just wanting to channel and be more specific. I think there's even some chatter that, what Utah was doing is that they had microphones and crowd mics, or the band typically has, okay, but by the marching band, where you can talk into it and there's some speakers down there, that the crowd noise was coming into these microphones and then also going out, which enhanced it a bit. I can't say for certain that that's what was happening. There was some heavy speculation that is what was going on there. But yes, the Jones is loud. I think Joey just wants it to be specifically loud when the defense is on the field and not just a third down. But I just gather too, this atmosphere on Saturday night, if the weather will just cooperate, fingers crossed, that it could be an all-timer or close to it, just because so many things have are kind of coming together at the right time. You're really good. It's a night kick. You're doing the blackout thing. First couple of games were a bit affected, and then you've got Joey kind of poking the bear. And he's not opposed to poking the bear, whether it's the fan base or his own team or himself. This is just what makes him good at what he does. Because, I mean, we talked about this in the broadcast last week. He's like, the night before the game, he's like, I'm going to poke our defensive line. I'm gonna really try to agitate them. And we talked about it on the broadcast. And I think whatever he did worked.
I'd say so. Yeah, the returns were positive there.
Yes.
Keep poking. Yeah, the Jones is definitely loud. We have not had a frenzied opportunity really in a sustained way week to week for a long time, because you haven't had the kind of team that's lived up to that type of energy. I always believe the team makes the stadium, not vice versa. You pay to be there if you're in the seats. Your energy is earned by the team, and I don't think that equation ever changes. We are getting back to closer to that competitively, so I hope that we will be right there in lockstep as far as the frenzy. And I would just say as well, in a big picture kind of way, if you were not around at a time to experience the blood feud of Aggies or Longhorns rolling into town, it's just different. I don't care about – it could be the highest stakes competitively with BYU or something like that, and it's going to be great. But it could be the lowest stakes competitively with the Aggies, and it would still be frothing at the mouth. So you just can't replace those kind of things.
Yeah, there was pure hate.
Yeah, it's just something we don't have anymore. Not that you can't get by without it, of course, but it's something that's a little bit different. So I would definitely toss that in as well when kind of thinking about the ebb and flow of decibels at Jones Stadium over the last decade and a half.
I mean, the Gap Kid, red Gatorade. Hey man, just goes to show you, even a pirate can beat a soldier, you know. I mean, the victory bell has probably got a dent in it right now, or whatever bell is down there on the field. I mean, all these.
That's Bangin' Bertha. She has a name.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, yeah, my bad. Oops. Yeah, please don't come for me, the Megan Bertha fans out there. But yeah, I can just rattle off a bunch of those, and those were from years ago, and it's all from one series.
Right. Thanks a lot, college football overlords. Garrett has a question here. I thought interesting about the offensive side of things for Tech, saying the 3 starting wide receivers, and I haven't crunched these numbers, but I'm trusting Garrett. 3 starting wide receivers have gotten 95% of the snaps so far this season. Is this a product of Coach Leftwich's system or up-tempo pace, or do you think these 3 guys are just that much better than what's behind them? We did talk a lot about some of these young guys, Chris, but we really haven't seen them dipping very far into that group.
Everything you said is the why. Yeah, I mean, yes.
Way to go, Garrett.
Yes. I mean, they are better. I do think you've seen they haven't maybe made as many plays. I also think that part of what you're seeing too is that Joey and really has tasked his coaches on either side of the ball. We do need to work in some depth. However, we're not going to do this like we've done this before. I don't want all the receivers coming out and then the twos all to run in. I don't want all the safeties to come out and then the twos all come in. So when Micah Hudson has come out there, Coy and Caleb Douglas are still out there. When Kelby Valson comes in there, you've got so it's a mixture of working the younger guys in. They want those younger guys in surrounded by starters and depth to kind of this was a fundamental change that they made back in late August, I guess, when they started talking about game reps. And there comes a time and when the game is put away or you go, okay, y'all are all out. That's not what I'm talking about. In the normal flow of a game, this is what you're going to see. And I think that will continue. So that's also why you maybe haven't seen as many of the other guys making a few plays, because when Micah's out there, so is Coy and Carter and Caleb, kind of thing. And then vice versa. So anyway, that may factor into it too. But there is a difference between those 3 and everybody else right now. And that's what the coaches are leaning on.
All right, a couple more here before we head on to the OT. This question from Kyle is asking about, do you think there's something that stood out to you that Kansas does better than Tech any phase of the game?
No.
Love that. Thank you, Kyle. Ask a question, get an answer. This question here from, let's see, Jay. Seems like you are trying to temper your expectation. You guys do not drink the Kool-Aid, but if we keep winning, what point in the season will you let loose and join with the drunkards?
Hey, I feel like our job here is to, to tell you, we have our own feelings. We've been around this place a long time. We are here in Lubbock. Okay. You and I have been around here and in these parts and in Lubbock and around this program and all this stuff for a long time. Do we protect our emotions at times? Probably. Do we talk that out with you all? Sure. I will tell you that if you go 2-0 in the next 2 weeks, I'm with you. I think you've at this point created some space. I will really, I will make some financial commitments. If you go 2-0, I'm not going to get into what that may be. But but it just comes with a 2-0 stretch. But it's because that you need to have a win over the Sun Devils.
Mm-hmm.
You just do. Because here's the scary scenario. If you beat Kansas and Utah beats Arizona State, you're going to be riding more highs over the next week. You're going to be loved on. You're going to be patted on. It's all the things. Arizona State will have lost the one game, and if they beat you, they're you're tied and they have the tiebreaker. So like a lot of your margin for error has all of a sudden kind of been sucked up. Like, can we talked about this all summer. You can afford one, but you may not be able to afford another. Maybe you can survive a second conference loss and still earn a spot in. But it's Arizona State is the one that you need. That's the one that you need in your back pocket. That's the tiebreaker that you need. I'm saying is that right now, maybe they go on to lose a couple of games down the stretch. And, okay, well, it turned out. But I'm saying as I know it and as I look at it, I just think if you go 2-0, because you've got Kansas State and TCU playing. Okay, it's good that somebody's getting a loss there. You've got Utah and Arizona State playing. It's good that somebody's got a loss there. You got Utah and BYU playing at the same time, the same day that you're playing Arizona State. It's good that somebody's got a loss there. But if you were to survive this 2-week stretch here and go 2-0 and be 4-0, I just think that you could start to see some separation there. And that's when at that point I'll go, I may dare to dream. Because what I'm having a hard time getting used to, if I'm being honest, we have all this scar tissue and PTSD and all these things that we walk around with. I'm having a hard time being used to seeing you such a heavy favorite. But I'm also having a hard time looking at it going, to this point, and it's small sample size, what if you're just that much better? Like, what if you're just that much better than who you're going against? And I don't know if that's going to be the case against Arizona State. Look at any of the numbers, any of the whatever. That's the one that's going to give you the least chance to win, or you might be the least amount favored or whatever. That's the one. Everything else, it really tilts heavily in your favor if you stay healthy and if you play a normal game. But I can't remember who asked the question, but you get a win over Kansas and you go to Tempe, Arizona, and you come home with that one. And I might jug. Or just guzzle 2 jugs of the Kool-Aid. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, I believe it when I see it. It's not in the sense of just protecting my feelings, because I feel like that means you're lying to yourself, and I ain't lying to myself about what I'm seeing in front of me. But there was a different kind of question from Ryan that was saying, basically, what does this team need to do for us to move past old wounds and prove they're different? And that ties into the way I feel right now. I do think and believe you have a roster capable of winning the Big 12 this year. You have a team capable of winning the Big 12 this year. Time will tell. I may reserve an opinion for, I don't know, after Tech is like trailed in a game to see what they react with whenever that situation comes about. Adversity that we do expect to be out there. But a little bit more specifically, I believe Texas Tech's defense is unlike anything I've seen in a long, long time, if ever. And I believe Texas Tech's offensive line is upgraded in a marked way from where you have been. Those are the things I think I know to be absolutely true. How far that gets you or what else kind of ebbs and flows, I don't know yet. But Chris, when you're doing what you've done in the trenches, that does give you a feeling like, no, you can compete for something in the conference when things get tighter in late October, November, et cetera, and home and away, because that kind of stuff travels. So whether we're with the drunkards yet and drinking the Kool-Aid, or if we're just sipping, we can sip for just a moment, get a little taste. Do we like it? Do we not like it? You can be the judge out there. All right, let's see here. Thank you for that question. This question here, asking again about the future, Chris. This is from Kathy. We also had Matt and we had Jonathan weighing in on this. Do you still feel good about a reclassification for one LaDainian Guyton? But to hear the answer to that question, you'll need to be a Matador Mobster insider. So hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. For those on the outside, this is where it will leave you for the week. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you don't miss a thing, and become a Matador Mobster today for less than a cup of coffee a month so you can get the full Mailbag experience next week. Had a great time all week. Hope you have a great weekend. Would love to see you out at the Jones. Chris, we're on to the OT, man. Thanks for the regulation time all week long. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. Hope to see everybody at the Jones on Saturday night. Wear your black, be loud on third down, and then on defense in general. But it's good to be back. We love all of our double T's equally, but the new one is legit. Anyway, but hey, we'll talk to everybody next time, unless you're sticking with us, and we'll talk about. So I've got another topic that I want to get into here that maybe hadn't been talked about near enough, that I think maybe Texas Tech is doing better than anybody in the country, and why it's been glossed over large in part, I'm not real sure.
All right. Well, stick with us if you are in the mob. We're on to the OT. Appreciate everybody for being out there. Thank you, as always, for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.